And you are listening to the Old Tube Radio Network.
How do you do, ladies and gentlemen?
Greetings to you.
Wherever you are, for music and the latest news from home and from afar, the station for you is
OTR, Old Tube Radio.
The station for you is
OTR.
We hope the station for you is the Old Tube Radio Network. On the air for the last 33 years at 27085 on Saturday evenings, talking about, looking for those classic 11-meter Class D tube radios from 1958 to 1978. We hope to grab a few tonight. Our tube radio operators and collectors are out there listening, the shortwave listeners as well, streaming live at oldtuberadio.net. We're standing by.
135, 135.
25.
All right, we've got 135 and 25. Was there another item? Okay, somebody way down there. We will get to you. 25 has probably already stepped into the green room, where I think we are fully stocked with the peanuts and lemonade and whatever else you might find there, Jerry. We'll be back to you for Radio 2. Radio 1 on the list tonight. We'll log it in at 8:48. I believe it's shortwave listener 135, Mr. Green Arrow, out in the radio, braving the wind tonight out in the radio cabana. Hello, Cliff.
Hello, Dennis. First of all, is this thing working right now?
You are transmitting and looking and sounding good here in the net control area tonight.
Now, good. It just decided to mess up on me, but it's working again. Anyway, let's see. From the Sonar Radio Corporation in Brooklyn, New York, this is the Sonar Model E, as in Echo. Let's see. There are 8 selectable transmit and receive crystal-controlled type channels, and a VFO tuning if you so desire.
Sonar is working well. Try and grab it here while it is still working, although I haven't heard any indications that it wants to do anything bad. It looks like we might even have a picture of that radio. We got something online from your shack. I'm going to pull it up here on the air. Not only is there's a radio, but there's a Sonar signal strength meter on top of said radio. So with our video firmly implanted for the Model E, we'll go back to you for transmission.
Yeah, and I'm using that right now, actually. It's the big dark gray plastic handheld non-amplified microphone. I don't know what model it is. It just says Sonar on the front. But yeah, also you're coming in 20 dB over 9 on the little Sonar meter, which also just says Sonar on the front of it. I don't know the models on these things.
Interesting. The radio itself, looking at it here, does not have an S meter. Looks like it's got 8 channels. So is that a multi-functional item from Sonar? It says signal strength. Will it do SWR as well? I don't see any switches on it, so I'm assuming there's some way to wire it in there to at least give you the signal strength, maybe some RF output as well, over.
No, it just says receive signal strength. That's all it does. When I key up, like right now, it goes all the way down to 0. And doesn't indicate that I'm doing a thing. When I release, it will give me your signal strength, but that's all it does.
All right, good enough. Nice little addition. You know, helicopters, the CB3s give you a little spot to put in the meter, but that's a nice big meter. Almost, again, it looks like a piece of test gear or something for SWR, but I see the red from S9, and I can't tell if it goes to 40 over or more than that. And you've actually got the radio on. Looks like it's resting at an S2 or S3 noise level. And in the picture here, trying to see if I can tell what channel 11 is. It looks like it's number 2 on the dial, but I can't quite tell. It's got the little Dymo label to keep you honest there. The pilot lights, there's a blue power. There's one above that. Looks like it says antenna, but I might be wrong.
You are most correct there. My power indicator is green. Directly above the red cancel light. It's not working. That's what I was wondering. It's working earlier. That cancel light, antenna light. Usually it comes on when you put it up. Like transmission. It did for a while. Now it stopped doing that. So I don't know what's up. It might be a little wire in there or something like that. I've seen stuff for that while. On the external plugging in, there's a knob in the back that allows you to zero the speakers, but that's all. Like I say, it doesn't do anything for you.
Okay, don't go away. We're going to do some quick transmissions here. I think you mentioned an earlier possible issue, and we're having about 10% audio on that last transmission. So I don't know if you have the magic fix, like, oh, that's the mic cable, or you have to have the strategically placed slap on the side of the rig or something. So keep that in mind. Take a short transmission. We'll see if we can't get your audio back up the way it was. Over. Still down about 10%. Your signal, though, is fine. No problem there. And a full key down. Still at 10%. It's just strange. It's there, but way down. We have a so, but no nar. And it's interesting. It's steady. It's not like it's crackling or coming in and out or anything like that. It's just kind of across the board drop. But audio is coming through, but it's way down. So hard to say. Sonar Model E is the radio. If you're at oldtuberadio.net or you're checking us out on the video screen, the radio we're showing is the one on which Cliff is actually transmitting. A bit of an audio item malfeasance happening at the moment. If you heard the earlier transmissions, you know what that radio can do. Back to you for another transmission. See if it comes back. If not, of course, we're going to be here till 10 o'clock tonight if you do a little bit of peeking and tweaking or tapping or dancing just to see if it comes back. We will certainly be happy to let you know. Back to you. We'll see what happens. Yeah, still down about 10%. Pretty weak.
Well, I can't figure it out, but thanks for letting me check it in. See ya.
All right, a good way to start, and sometimes that happens with the old tube radios. They have a performance, and then they'll take a little rest, and they'll be back again later or next week or whatever. Anybody who drives an old car, raise your hand like me. You know, sometimes it'll start, and you'll have all 8 cylinders firing. Sometimes it'll start and you can tell, wait a minute, I think I've only got 6. But it gets you there. And the Sonar Model E got Cliff there tonight, radio number 1 at 8:48 in the old Tuber Radio Network. Let's switch back over to the control room on the video. Coming up to the air chair, of course, SWL25, Jerry, and I'm not exactly sure what he's got in the tube mix tonight, but I'm sure he's going to tell us. Hello, 25.
Well, I'll tell you what, first of all, thank you for the green room. Almost fell asleep in there with the beer and the peanuts and the pretzels. So thanks for that hospitality. Anyway, 25 checking in on the MC5 from downtown beautiful Burbank, California, the General Radio Telephone, MC5, over.
The Master Control number 5, one of their better selling, dare I say best? I don't have any production numbers, but probably one of their best-selling models, the MC5, and that's way back in 1963, 1962. Good combination and a good price as well. That was a really good price point for a nice bang-up radio like that. Dialing up the picture right now, courtesy of SWL45, that may have a few radios up his sleeve tonight. We're going to be radio number 2 at 8:57. And give us another transmission. We'll talk a little bit about that General Radio Telephone MC5.
Okay, Dennis. Well, thanks for checking in, first of all, and good to hear everybody else. And I'll try to keep it short. Cool little radio. Definitely designed as a mobile back in the day. And S meter right in the middle of the radio, and the front end speakers right in your face. So, I mean, it's perfectly designed for a mobile type item. And kind of struggled with this radio over the years with finding a decent microphone that it liked. And some people say, that the MC5s don't like powered microphones. Well, this is a Turner plus 3B powered amplified mic, so it seems to be working. Only you on the receiving end can tell me, but if it's too strong on the audio or if the radio's happy, but everything seems to be working, Dennis. So back to you.
It's working fine. I was watching the S meter. You're above the noise level. It's pretty good. Jerry is not that close to my location here. The amplified audio works well, but you're right. Most times the general radio telephones don't need it. The audio is a little fuzzy around the edges. I'm not sure if that's due to the amplification. I was looking at the meter and I noticed there is no forward movement. I'm wondering if that radio could be over-peaked. What do I mean by that? That is to say, its resting carrier is set a bit too high, and it's not giving you some headroom for the audio. That would be something to possibly look into. It sounds okay. You can give yourself a radio check by going to the archives at oldtuberadio.net, clicking on the archive button, or we do keep the video up for a while, and you can do it that way. But just looking at the meter, I'm not seeing any forward movement or much. I'm just wondering if that resting carrier is set a half a watt or a watt too high, and it might help the audio out to bring it back. But I'm hearing you just fine. MC5 is the general radio telephone, 1962, late 1962 that came out, and it was a big seller in 1963. The original price, just under $200. Very competitive with a lot of the radios out there, and their most advertised general radio telephone for sure. That's only got 7 tubes, all 6-volt tubes. There is a schematic at oldtuberadio.com, and it has the ability to go 6-volt DC, 12-volt DC, or 115-volt AC, depending on the cable that's in the back. The Electro-Voice chrome-plated microphone is the standard, but as you heard, Jerry is running the amplified mic, and it's helping out with the audio probably for the way things are. Let's talk before you go, and it's sort of an obligatory thing when you have an MC5, because there are fans of the tone signal, of the Tweety Bird, whatever you want to call it. So we'll head back to you, and maybe you can give us a blast as we thumb our nose at the FCC that ordered the Burbank boys to remove that in the next version of the MC6. But it still exists, and it's still legal to do. So back to you.
Hi, Dennis. You kind of backed off the power on the Turner. Maybe it was something high. So hopefully that allowed some more headroom. And by the way, I unkeyed the mic. There's a button dead center in the middle of the radio, spring-loaded. As soon as I unkey the mic, I will give you the signal and the button. Thanks, Dennis. Back to you.
All right, that tone signal has got plenty of audio. So I think your radio's doing just fine when it comes to producing the audio output for what you got. Microphone just has a little bit of fuzz around the edges. And I think you can probably, I think you said you dropped the audio level on the mic. I think you can put it back up where you had it. That actually was a little bit more on the intelligibility. So the radio does need a little bit more audio gain, or the gain you had originally was good. So I would leave it there. Radio number 2 of the Old Tube Radio Network, the General Radio Telephone MC5. The Old Tube Radio Network here on Saturdays from Central California, talking with the old tube radio operators and their old tube radios, basically what you would get back in 1963. There weren't a lot of solid-state radios out there. You might remember the day. Maybe you were out there at that time. And we try to recreate that here every Saturday, thanks to our tube radio operators. And let's see, I want to wave a hand to our digital listeners still tuning in over at oldtuberadio.net. Thanks, Steve, for the good words out there in Westchester, Ohio, and Bob also in Oxford, Ohio. Enjoying the program, and we encourage everybody to have an old radio night. There are a few out there, certainly. Have a good time and get on the air. Sneak away from all the events happening, and, you know, just like you used to, just like we used to have to do. And when we turn off Jackie Gleason on Saturday nights and run into the radio section of the living room and talk to our friends. Let me check out who's on the video side and see if I need to say hello to anybody there. And then, of course, the jingle singers want to also say hello. All right, we've got 12 watching, but no comments. The Old Tube Radio Network will be looking for radio number 3 in just a moment.
How do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you. Wherever you are, your favorite slot on the dial by far is known to you as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
And we are looking for radio number 3.
Hello, hello. Do I get this working again?
Oh, yeah, it sounds marvelous. Magic, or just it decided to work?
Yes. Magic, and it decided. I think I've got a sticky channel selector switch, but it seems like it's working better.
Oh, it's working great. The audio is really nice. It sounds like a sonar now. Sonars always have good audio with the stock microphones. Crazy Bob calls that the piece of toast. I think you've got is that the big microphone?
Yes, it is. I think it's the largest handheld mic I have. It's a great big dark gray plastic mic.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of toast with a coiled cord.
Yeah.
All right, well, it sounds good. Good audio. I'm looking at the meter. You've got forward movement, all the things that you would like to have.
Yeah, I probably keep it. Now it's on. Hello. There's. Yeah, I got to clean this thing.
A little bit of a deoxit and the rotating tubes in the socket, but it's good. When it's working, it's just fine. There's no other issues. Got plenty of, audio. You know what I was going to do and I didn't do because we lost the audio? Come back with a transmission and I will slide over to the radio here and give you a frequency check, see what the crystals are doing.
Now it doesn't want to work.
All right, good enough to get my check. 270847.5, so very, very close, like 200 cycles low.
Oh, have to be good enough. Oh well, thanks anyways. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Doing what old tube radios sometimes do. But that's why we like them here on the Old Tube Radio Network. Looking for radio number 3. The break OTR, go ahead, please. Yes, say again, over. Yeah, I got part of that just in my noise. It gets a fluttering. It's kind of in and out of the noise level. And I hear the guys on the crossband. That's right. There's a VHF contest going on as well. Anyway, I think that's 650 in there. Yeah, those listening to my receiver hear the fluttering audio. I think you're just on the verge of my ground wave coming in. Plus, I have I'm on the Starduster tonight, which actually is a good antenna for wind because it doesn't move around much. The only problem with the Starduster is it's incredibly low, which creates a problem there. And the IMAX 2000, which survived years in all the windstorms here, I took it down for some maintenance, but it was sitting on something and it fell over and it cracked the fiberglass, like the second segment, but it cracked the fiberglass. So now it's super weak. I'm going to have to make some type of a sleeve, like a PVC sleeve, and put it on that second segment if I want to continue using it. But I have thoughts that I may go to something different. I don't know. OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network. We are listening for Radio 5. I'm sorry, Radio 3. We want Radio 5 too.
25.
Hello, Radio 25.
Yeah, Dennis, can't miss a Saturday night without checking in the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB sidebander 2-piece radio, and on the stock banana mic, and by golly, it's about the on-the-air light, red on-the-air light is on, and hopefully it's making it to you. Back to you.
Nice and loud. Got the same nice loud audio like the sonar, but I think this one has just a little bit more signal strength. But you come over the noise level on both radios, no problem. A good choice, our first Browning of the evening, on sort of a quiet evening for Skip anyway. A lot of static from the wind. You can hear some background audio from the crossband. Apparently there is a VHF contest going on tonight, and that's what's going on there. Give us another transmission. I have had the pleasure of keying up on that radio from the operator's position before.
Well, you just never know. It may happen again. But in any case, it's a cool radio. One of the most sought-after radio that I wanted, and I got one and been happy with it, and cleaned it all up, and boy, I tell you what, this thing's going to work. And I mean, it's a dependable radio, and good-looking radio, and anyway, it still seems to be working, as my ex-German boss would say.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you about your ex-German boss and how he would describe that radio, and you just did. It is working very well. Sounds great. The question I had was that from Everett's collection? Was that one of the ones that he had at one time, or did you get that from another source?
No. Everett would not give up his radios. His radios were his radios, and he always had two. So, but no, this is another radio that I acquired from another source. And you know what? That's a good question. I don't know what happened to Everett's radios for his Brownings, because I think he had a couple of Mark IIIs, and I think he had an S27 or 23, or maybe I said that wrong. Is it R27, S23? What is that?
That is the original Eagle. The R27 S23 from 1965, 64 was the first Eagle, a radio that had an Eagle on it somewhere. You know, you're making me think I should go back to the archives, the paper archives, and see if I can find some of the check-in sheets with number 8 and look at some of the various radios that he checked in with. And yeah, it would be very rare for him to have one of anything unless it was rare, like he had a Demco Star. He had some rare stuff, but anything that there might have been more than 2 produced, he might have had those 2.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and 2 was the magic number, because if you bought one, he always had to have a backup. And speaking of the Browning S, receive S, I get them mixed up. But a lot of people would pair those with a buddy transmitter, like Kevin used to do. And I tell you what a I guess great combination that was on the receive. It was the R27. The Browning paired with the buddy transmitter, and it just worked out fantastic.
Now, there was a way to mix and match. I used to talk to, back in my early days, it was he was using E.F.Johnson transmitter, but the Browning receiver, since back then the Browning receivers were the top dog with all the things you could do on them, and of course they still are today. All right, Jerry, Radio 3, your Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. But that thing never misses a beat. Always sounds great. Also want to say hello to John, the mighty Juliet Whiskey, who said he forgot about OTR because he's in contesting. You can hear in my background over here on the other radio, some contesters on the Simplex FM frequency. So there is an FM or a VHF item going on this weekend. And I'm not sure if your 6-meter contacts were all in the same grid square. We've got some conditions going on, which is certainly possible for a summer evening. So, as they say, good luck in the contest. We'll see how we can do here tonight on OTR. As long as we're getting tubes, we are scoring big points. So, Radio 3, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Back to you, Jerry, and thanks for bringing it by.
Hey, thank you, Dennis, for taking it in.
And SWL 44 talking about the wind. As usual, you know, in the Central Valley, we complain about things, and it's for us, it's not bad. I think we're probably in the 18 to 25 mile per hour range, maybe gusts at 30 or so if you're out on the west side. So I'm thinking where you're at with a little bit fewer wind breaks, it might be a bit nastier. The sky was very brown at sunset. I looked in, we had one of the nice orange sunsets, but that was due to the dust in the air, and I haven't heard any issues about, and I know you know, Ray, some of the I-5 issues with the dust and things like that, which can happen because we haven't had any rain in a while, so hopefully none of that. Want to say hello to, looks like New Jersey and Crazy Bob and the gang out there at the Antique pre-1977 radio group, and hopefully your radios. We're looking for radio number 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you, wherever you are. The friendliest station for you by far is known to all as
OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network.
the station for you is
OTR.
Looking for Radio 4. You break OTR. Go ahead, please. All right, I didn't catch the audio. A little bit of static with you. Try it again.
67.
Wait, did anybody else catch that? It just, when you key in, your audio starts, and then there is a lots of noise coming in with the audio. But it's loud, though.
67.
You say 57 over?
67.
67. All right. Yeah, there is something not good going on with the microphone there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's you key down. You have about a good half second where I hear you, and then the noise comes in, almost like there's a bad connection, or I don't know. Sometimes a bad SWR can do something like that, but I'm not sure it's that. 67. Bill at the Microphonium, where we've got you checked in. And it's loud enough, you may see that. If you've got a wiggle meter on the transmit side or some audio meters or something, you key the microphone, don't say anything, and see if you can detect the staticky noise. Plus, it's recorded. You can actually hear it at oldtuberadio.net. I was doing a little bit of research on our listener in Birkenhead, out in the UK, around Liverpool, where, what, is it 4 o'clock in the morning there? Is that what time it is? I hope we are grabbing some radios of interest to you here at the Old Tube Radio Network. We have been doing this, kind of listening, having a good time, talking with our tube radio operators since the mid-1980s, believe it or not. So good to have you aboard here. Always check us out at oldtuberadio.net. 20 meters, that's right. I was listening this morning, late morning, and I was on 20 meters. I can't remember the frequency, and there was somebody from the UK coming in. That was the only signal I heard. And for us here on the West Coast, you don't often hear that when the conditions, when we're not in the top of the solar cycle. But I don't have a good antenna set up for 20. And who else? There was also a station from Spain, but good to hear the UK stations coming in, whether it's here at oldtuberadio.net or on 20 meters. OTR, we're listening for Radio 4. I think we've got a television starting. Tune your video. Like the big one coming up or something. Wow, Ray, I'll have to check. I have paper copies that go back, I think, to 90 or 89, and I'll have to check. There were some more. Jim had kept them somewhere. It was very very hard to find all of them, but I got a big stack of some of our older, the sheets that we have now, and I used to have to handwrite them before everybody had computers and printers. Literally, the SWL list, we'd print out a grid. We had we'd probably go to the copy center, and we'd print out a grid, and then I had to physically, because everybody said I had the best handwriting, write the names out for the 8-week thing by hand. So that's how long we've been on here. We've been on the air since before everybody had computers and printers. I forgot all about that.
Break OTR.
The break OTR, go ahead, please.
Anyway, SWL 37 checking in. Kind of late.
No, we're still here. What is it, 9:22 on the West Coast? We put SWL 37 on the board. A lot of things going on today. The last 2 days when I drive around town and I go somewhere and expecting it to be busy and to wait in line, and like there's nobody there. Where is everybody? But I think school is out. A lot of people not doing the usual routine. And except for the old 2 radio network. That's a good routine. That's a habit you don't want to break. You are sounding good, Chris.
All right. Well, no, I just got home and had turned on to check in. Come on. Don't do that. Hello. There we go. But anyway, just got home, been up in Tracy. I had to go up to see sister-in-law, been out of the hospital, so we went and seen her. Anyway, I just got home. Not bad. Used a quarter tank of gas from there to here.
Wow. Well, that means you weren't driving 75.
Yes, I was doing 75 and 80.
No. Were you in the Pinto?
No, I was in the Lincoln. The MKC.
Oh, okay, that's good. I don't know what the capacity. You've got a 50-gallon capacity tank. That's not a good thing if you use a quarter tank. But that's good. At $4 a gallon now here in California.
Well, I pay $3.29 at Costco, but no, that wasn't bad. 2-hour drive, quarter tank of gas from there to here. It's 170 some odd miles from Tracy to here. So I wasn't complaining. I left there as a half a tank and got here as a quarter tank.
All right. Well, you're braver than I am. I sit there at like 59 miles an hour, kind of over on the right side, and let everybody else go by. You're playing with the big boys there at 75 and 80.
Well, it's got a 4-cylinder in it. It's a Lincoln MK, but it's got that 2.0 4-cylinder EcoBoost with turbocharge. It's fast, but no, it's very good on gas.
And in the words of Commander Cody, son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod Lincoln or something like that.
That was the words. And then how do you get this thing out of second gear, huh?
Now that's the beep beep. That's the Nash Rambler.
That's right. You're right. That is right. Beep 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 beep. Now I'm doing 110. That's Stan. Didn't he though? All right, Dash, you're giving your age away, huh?
Yeah, and the fact that we used to play that at the campus radio station.
Oh, yeah. All right, well, I'm going to get out of it for a bit here. I turn this thing on. I need to sit and relax and chill. Coming down Herndon, mind you, just a little bit ago, a woman on a bicycle, Herndon, eastbound, right in the middle of the slow lane. I had to lock it up.
You know, I've been noticing that more lately, that people have this death wish. They like to cross against the signals when there's no, there's just strange things going on. Well, good for you. I'm glad you avoided some disaster there because you don't want to do that. All right, go do your thing. Thanks for jumping into the radio room and saying hello to us here at 27085, the Old Tube Radio Network, and everywhere else at oldtuberadio.net. We are looking for Radio 4 and kind of a mellow, slow Saturday evening on the Old Tube Radio Network.
And she had no lights. I'll be warming up.
You know, Dennis, this graduation bit it's got the people doing what they got to do. Shame on the mess. But I have a feeling graduation has a lot to do with it.
No, I think you are right. Chris mentioned Costco. I went in last night to do something, and I was like, oh, I'll get some gas. And it was 7 p.m. And there wasn't a line. There was no cars, and I just drove right in and got gas. You know how it is. Even if you don't get gas there, if you drive in, there's just 10 cars. I'm thinking, okay, what's going on? Is the store closed? Is the pump's not working? It was just, people are doing something else on a Friday night. Maybe even on a Saturday night here with the Old Tube Radio Network. But that's okay. That's why we're here almost 52 weeks out of the year, probably, for your check-in dining and dancing pleasure. And good weather, except for the wind. Coming up at 9:30, jingle singers are around the microphone. At least they're working tonight on the Old Tube Radio Network.
You're listening in the latest style at
27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio.
In wonderful
Fresno, California.
Also, hello to our new digital listener somewhere near Monterrey, Mexico, listening in to the Old Tube Radio Network here. Central California is where we're at. And we're trying to coax some of the classic tube radios off the workbench and on the air here tonight on the 27-meter side. OTR listening.
Beep, 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 beep.
And JT, if you're out there listening, you may just have to ring the bell tonight prematurely to help keep us awake. That'll be okay, even if we don't get a Demco. And we've got somebody beeping, trying to get in here. Radio 4, I think, is near.
Exactly. Beep, beep. And it's not a Nash Rambler, I'll tell you. Anyway, Dennis, SWL37, I will at least check in one tonight. And I'm going to check in my wheat radio here. My general radio telephone, the Super MC11A, 24-channel tube that glows in the dark with a handheld stock microphone. Over.
Sounding great. I often go into the archives after the program here just to see how things recorded. I'm always amazed that many of the radios checking in sound better than I do. And I'm sitting, as you can tell from the video, I'm sitting right here with the Heil PR40 microphone into thousands of dollars of audio gear. And then someone checks in and it's like, how can they sound better than I do? They're coming through the receiver. But that happens a lot. That shows you how great and really well made and cool these tube radios are. This is one of them. This is one of the radios that often puts me to shame on the audio playback. Radio number 4, the General Radio Telephone Super MC11A, our second General Radio Telephone of the evening. In the photo, if you're looking at oldtuberadio.net, the video, you're seeing a stock microphone, a hand microphone, non-amplified that came with the radio. That's what Chris is using to get this audio. Back to you.
Yeah, and it's still working.
It's working great. Over.
Well, thank you. I could be like Walter on, what's his name? I can't remember. You know, the guy with the puppet guy?
Walter Winchell?
No, on the comedy show. What? I can't remember his name. But anyway, he has the puppets. You know, he has Walter. Has jalapeno on a stick. You know.
I don't know that one. Winchell Mahoney, Knucklehead Smith.
Jeff Dunham. Yeah, Jeff Denham, that's who it is. Wanda, she's just telling me right now, too. Jeff Denham, he is awesome. I went and seen him live. My daughter won tickets, so me and Wanda went. Best show I've ever seen.
All right, shows you where I'm at. I'm still in the 60s. I need to update.
Well, he's pretty close to your age, I guess. I don't know. Let's see. Well, I'll be 70, so I don't know if you're. I think you're younger than I am, aren't you? Still.
I am younger than that. I am younger than that, but I'll be there. I'll be there soon, no doubt. And it might happen. You never know. The 70th birthday might happen on a Saturday night, right here on the Old Tube Radio Network. And you've been on long enough to have a couple of birthdays here on Saturday nights.
Oh yes, I have more than one.
Yes, indeed. 9 tubes, 2 transistors. The radio we're listening to, the Super MC11A from the beautiful downtown Burbank General Radio Telephone Company. Of course, the great audio, thanks to probably a 12AX7A and the mic preamp and the ECLL 800. It's sounding good.
Yeah, not too far from Carson Studios, huh?
Yeah, I used to have an address for the Burbank item, and I'm not sure where the NBC studios, which I think was I in 2-1? I think I went to Carson twice. We drove down because both times I think we drove down here from Fresno, and then we had a crazy guy driving. They pre-taped the show early for the East Coast because it's live. And he got back here to Fresno after the show ended. He got back to Fresno so that we could watch the show when it aired here. And that was a white-knuckle ride for sure down 99.
I bet it was. All right, Dennis, thank you for being there. I'm going to be out and probably listening the rest of the evening. So have a good one. Thank you for being there.
All right, thanks for giving us Radio 4 on the Old Tube Radio Network. We are standing by. The Break OTR. I know that voice. Hello, 20.
We're going to be on air frequency. Radio. So, how are we doing?
Okay, I'm setting up a sideband switchover at 27.084.3 because you sound marvelous on sideband. That's got some really nice audio. On AM, we need to work on it because we have not enough. Oh boy, I don't know how to say this properly. Not enough carrier insertion or too much carrier insertion or too much audio is basically, I think, what's happening for the amount of carrier. And so the sidebands are engulfing your double sideband is messing up your center carrier. Let's put it that way. But I know you're in there. And when I go to sideband, you sound really great. So there's no problem that way. And you're not that far off frequency, 8438. So let's not deal with any of that. So back to you, and we'll play. You've got Radio 5.
Okay. Going on Carson Run, I can't do much. As low as it can go. However, you drop the PA a little bit. And see what that does.
No, I was listening in on sideband. Those watching the video, you can see me going back and forth so I zero beat. I'm beginning to think that is a Siltronics because you just drifted about 200 cycles. That is a classic giveaway. Can you add more carrier?
Let me do this. Another rock time. Oops, here it goes.
Oh, that's it.
Okay. I added more carrier and lowered the PA. I don't get as much swing, but what does that do?
That's clearing up the audio. Well, let me put it this way. Clearing up is a relative term. That is making the audio sound more like AM than sideband. I no longer have to flip over to sideband and understand what you're saying. I'll have to listen to the sideband to see if you're actually, if the audio is as clean or not. I mean, before, boy, the audio just sounded great on sideband. So you are headed in the right direction. And as you know, you got to be careful not to put too much carrier insertion, because then it does mess up the audio, or it gets the audio starts not being as loud. This is tricky. This is a tricky thing. Back to you.
Okay, let's see what this does here. Lower that a little bit. And turn that up. Now, I load the PA tune and the PA load, turn up the carrier, but I don't get much swing.
No, actually, you're showing quite a bit of forward movement. That helped the audio quality. It took out the bass muffliness. So now the quality of the audio is good, a little bit sharper. Still has, you lost some of the, you got a little bit more of the sidebands coming in. Oh, well, before we go any farther, just to see if I've got a picture of what we've got. I'm going to assume you're on a Siltronic, but tell me the model that you've got. See, we've got a picture of it here.
Okay, it's the 1011C. Okay, I just turned up the mic gain a bit. What did that do?
Getting a little bit distorted on the audio. You're close. You're way, way better than when you first started. I no longer, like I said, no longer have to go to sideband. I don't even know what to suggest. You might try the audio back down a little more carrier. This is one of the persnickety ones. Sometimes they're easy to do. Who is it nails it? Who's got all the Siltronics? Is it Phil? Phil nails it really good. I'm always just like falling off my chair when he comes in. It's like, you don't have to touch a thing. And then, who was it? Eric used to have one. And we used to do the same thing with Eric, SWL18. It's like, man, it was really, really touchy on his. Got a picture of the 1011C. What a beautiful radio from Siltronics. And I remember these. It was Siltronics and the Yaesu, the 101 series, were the big contenders back before 40 channels came out and everybody had a VFO. These radios first came on in the late early 70s and I guess 69, 70s when these came out. And the Siltronics always sort of kicked it on sideband, but the Yaesus sounded better on AM, unless you could get the Siltronics tuned in, which is what we're trying to do here. So back to you for some more experimentation.
Okay. I tweaked it a little bit. Okay. Frequency-wise, well, you need to pass me in for next week, so I've got 2 weeks to figure this out. I just downloaded the manual on this one, and the schematic. I have to check all the electrolytics. One tube is weak, and got to shorten it. The 6B6 tube, forget what it does. And then the audio output on receive ran on me about 7:45 tonight. So I had to scramble it, and I found one that's a little weak, but I can hear you. The speaker in the radio is really crappy, so I'm going to get another one. And right now I've got an external speaker plugged in, and who knows if that's right, but at least I can hear.
Yeah, I went back over to sideband to copy it because it's actually better on sideband now. What sure sounds good. Nice. It's got the Siltronic sideband, just really nice. Those used to work well with a Shure 444 microphone on sideband, and then on AM it was hard to. You could use just about anything, and it is definitely drifting up. You're at 8464 right now, so it's slowly moving up towards center frequency. Without, I'm going to say you might try either one or the other, either less audio or leave the audio alone and just kick in a bit more. Oh man, is it dry? See, I've never run one of these. I've never run a Sultronics where I can say it's sort of like a Kenwood when you're trying to do like a Kenwood 430 or 440 because they actually have three controls. You have the carrier and the drive the amount of carrier, and then a drive control, and then the audio control. And then when you get to something like a TS2000, you've got an input and an output on the processor. So there's like 5 controls. And this is the same way you've got those controls. So I would try either less audio, leave the carrier alone, or a little bit more carrier insertion with the same audio over.
Okay, I lowered the frequency a bit. You know, I didn't check the drive. Well, let's see. Okay, I lowered the drive to get more swing. But is that going to make it sound sideband, like sideband?
Yeah, it's just too much. It sounds great on sideband, but you've got way too much audio for AM, and you did not want to lower your frequency. You were low on frequency, so now you're even more low. But still, you're at 84.20, 84.2. You've got it's got the real shrill audio. You sound like sideband right now, so you need either less audio or some more carrier insertion. You actually kind of went the wrong way over.
Okay, let's see. I lowered the audio. Okay, the drive that's there. Hello. Okay. I changed that back, but I left the PA load and tune alone. I think I probably need to reset that.
All right, there you go. You are right on frequency now, and your audio is clean but weak. So you might just goose, is that a technical term? Goose up your audio just a smidge over.
Okay, I did the audio smidge. How's that?
I think you're going to need to leave it right there. I see the forward movement on the meter. If you were to get excited with your voice, you would probably start peaking a little bit where it sounds like sideband on the peaks, but it does not sound like sideband all the time now. Of course, your amount of audio, level of audio, gain, if you will, is definitely lower than it was, but your intelligibility has gone way up for those of us who only have an AM position on the dial over.
Okay. Hello. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Hello. Yeah, that didn't do anything. Hello. No. No. Hello. Okay. Those two didn't work too well. PA load and tune. I think I have to go with the carrier insertion and the drive and get it to work out with those.
Yeah, unless you're just overdriving the amount of carrier on the AM. I went to sideband. You do not sound as good on sideband now, basically because your audio is less, but you're definitely copyable on anybody's got an AM. You sound like AM now. So, yeah, you might end up needing to run less. We don't have our Siltronics aficionado out there who could give us some pointers, but where it's at now is a workable AM, although I think it could do better, but it's definitely workable.
Okay, it's an amplified D104, turned quite a bit down. Anyway, I have to see if, I haven't checked the caps yet, I gotta do that. Okay, I'm off the air with this, and I got one other to do.
Okay, and I marked you in Radio 5, the Siltronics 1011C. And even Ray 44 says it is sounding much better, clear, especially when I'm on AM. He's listening over the digital side. And you, like I said, you are right on frequency. I'm at 2705, and when I hit the sideband button, I don't have to, from the AM, I don't have to touch a thing. Don't know if you have a digital display on that or not, but you've pegged, that is right, at least plus or minus any drift, and I don't know how long you've had the radio on. Kevin used to say, if you've had it on for 2 months, it probably won't drift. Of course, on AM, we don't notice it that much, so really don't have to worry about it. But I think it can sound better on AM, but we are much, much closer than when you started. Thanks for that, and we'll be standing by for the other radio here on the Old Tube Radio Network. And maybe even the jingle singers, too.
What are the magic numbers?
27.085 megahertz, channel 11.
Are the magic letters?
OTR.
Right here in
Fresno, California.
Radio Magic
Old Tube Radio.
for you.
Shelltronics, of course, started as Swan, I think. Was it the 270? It's very, very similar to one of the Swan radios. But Shelltronics. Sam I. Lewis, S-I-L, Sam I. Lewis, getting the idea to, as amateur radio in the late 60s was sort of stumbling a bit in sales, the 11-meter CB was taking off with the numbers of amateur radio operators being in the 500,000 or 600,000 probably, and all of a sudden CBers were up there at 1 million or 2. Sam I. Lewis saying, well, wait a minute, we can maybe cash in with some of this with the Shelltronics, or the Swan 1011, which is the way it started first. There's a picture of the Swan 1011. And, of course, created a little bit of a stir for the amateur radio guys saying, what are you doing? Making a CB radio out of your Swan stuff. So they sort of broke off and started the Shelltronics to get the Swan name off of there. But anyway, a nice radio. Very, very, very good. A lot of them on the air. Sound great on sideband, as you heard. And a big history. And any of us who were in CB on the late 60s, early 70s are very familiar with these radios, and probably, if we didn't have one, wanted one. OTR, we're standing by looking for radio number 6.
Breaker.
This is your breaker frequency. Go ahead, sir.
50 here. I'll check in the old brown bird.
Brown bird is sounding good. I'm listening on headphones. I'm going to go back and watch the video replay when you first keyed down, because I was looking at some other things here. That eagle is so piercing. I'm sure I must have jumped in my chair. and I'll have a video record of that. You are Radio 6, but that is just loud.
Copy that. Well, I'd rather give you a little excitement this evening. Anyway, Golden Eagle Mark 3 sideband. And then a stock mark there.
All right, the Browning Golden Eagle Mark 3 SSB. With 10 dB over S9, putting in a great signal here. And a good modulation, too.
All right, Sanford and Son. I haven't heard that in a while.
Yeah, that's our video portion tonight. Thanks for giving us another radio on the list. Tube radio, that is, the Mark III SSB, and it is loud. And hello, Timtron, asking about the VHF contest. The crossband FM radio is off to the side here, and there is some activity going on the Simplex channel that I'm monitoring, but I have not yet given out my, it's DM06 here is the grid square. I have not given anybody some points in the action. John mentioning that he's been doing some contesting on 6 meters out there in Colorado, I believe, is where he's at. So things are open. So haven't really got into it. I have to. I was hoping to hear maybe SWL3, who often goes up about 50 miles away, one of the mountaintops here, about 3,500 feet, and really does well. There's a nice station up there, and I haven't heard those guys in there yet. So we will see. Anyway, good luck to you, Tim, if you are roving or handing out points or trying to get them.
45.
And speaking about getting some points, let's do some point scoring right now. Radio 7 and SWL 45. Can you hear me, Paul? Over.
Well, it's kind of hard night. First time I've been able to even hear you at all to understand what you were saying. Sounds like a double-side arc welder, about 1,000 watt or something going all the time in my ear. Anyway, I want to check in this Pierce Simpson companion. By Pierce Simpson.
All right, well, glad the conditions are behaving. I just have a lot of static. I've got a high noise level tonight. Anybody listening in is probably hearing more noise. I've got the RF gain set at a certain point. I don't want to go less than that because it'll start blocking some of the stations coming in. But could be the wind charging up dust particles around and around. Pierce Simpson is the radio. I hope you can hear me, and I will go back to you for another transmission on the companion. Is it a companion or a companion 2? Over.
Yeah, the noise is back. So at least we got in a minute or so. So I'm going to go back to my iPad where I can hear you. Thanks, Dennis. You got it checked in. That's all I can't hear what you're saying all the way.
Okay, I think you're on the companion and not the companion 2. I will leave the radio up so when you get back to the iPad, you will see that I have hopefully the proper radio up there, and I'll go ahead and pop it up to the video. I like the designers at Pierce Simpson, whoever they were. They had just a little bit of different styles on the radio. Oftentimes they made them look a little bit more like broadcast AM tabletop radios, and this one certainly looks like that. If I was not of the little knowledge that I have about CB radios, and I just glanced at that radio right there, I would think it was probably an AM tabletop radio, and it is not, of course. It's an 11-meter style, the Pierce Simpson Companion. And that's what Paul, SWL 45, was just taking a transmission on for Radio 7. Nice audio. Thank you, Paul.
I got just very little of that. Just back all the way on the thing. I was going to, if you can hear me, I was going to kick in my CBDT 5 that Harvey works over, but it only puts out 2 watts or less. No way will I make it down to here with that one. Some other day when it's real nice and clear. Anyway, if you heard that, thanks for checking it in, Dennis.
I hear it fine. You're actually well over the noise level. I can see some forward modulations. That means you are peaking out of my noise on the receiver. And the Pierce Simpson has some great audio. It looks like it's a hardwired microphonium, so I'm assuming you might be on the stock mic with that, which is even better. Sounding good. Thanks, Paul. Over.
Thanks, Dennis. Appreciate you checking it in.
And I agree, Ray. I think we would hear him. I would hear him just fine at 2 watts. He's got a little bit of altitude. I usually don't have trouble hearing him. Sometimes if he's on a radio that I think is like a 1/4 watt, then he might be in the noise. But just from that Pierce Simpson's room, I'm sure is probably running 3 to 5 watts. He's doing a good job. OTR, the Old Tube Radio Network, on a blustery, windy evening here in Central California, coming up to the 10 o'clock hour. Counting and amounting and all that. The jingle singers, let's see if they can roust us up one more tube radio before we sign out of here tonight.
Let's do some spelling.
OTR. 27.085 megahertz. Channel 11, Old Tube Radio. Old Tube Radio.
And we're looking for radio number 8.
How about 47 from the Radio Lounge?
Yeah, if you're not getting pummeled with dust and dirt out there, you might be sheltered. If you're in the right spot, if you've got a nice block from the northwest, it's probably not too bad. Yeah, we'll take it. We're looking for Radio 8 from the Radio Lounge. Hello, 47.
All right. Well, first of all, greetings. I know I'm rather tardy this evening, but it's still nice to be able to mosey on into the lounge here and fire up some nice fluid lighting with this particular case, a Robin T123.
Okay, firstly, you checked in on the SWL side. And nextly, heading over to our Robin database here and seeing if we can't dial up that magic I-123 from Robin as you take another transmission on the Old Tube Radio Network.
All right. Well, this particular radio was my very first tube radio. I remember seeing it on eBay, and I was just thinking about going for it, and then got all distraught because it got taken off before the auction. But lo and behold, number 20 had somehow snatched it up and picked it up, and there it is. Now it's in the lounge here. So. Of course, as you mentioned, the main feature. I guess I'm going to go ahead and get closer here. Yep, when I'm closer, I'm assuming it's going to have a little bit better audio. I'm not using an amplified mic on here, but anyways, the main draw on this particular radio for me was the like you mentioned, the Magic Eye Tube. I think it's a 6RE13. Is that right?
I believe you were correct. The 6RE13, where we were looking basically into the side of the tube rather than through the top. Yeah, much better. Whatever you did in the audio is sounding great.
Yeah, well, it's just me talking loud, which I don't like to do. Hold on one sec. Okay. Yeah, this microphone, I don't even know what is this? It's some sort of a Turner. Definitely not one of my favorites to use. It's just kind of awkward, and the spring and the push-to-talk button is it's pretty powerful. It takes more than just a thought to push it down. Anyways, so yeah, with this particular setup, I definitely have to get into it quite a bit. And of course, if you do that 6RE13 Magic Eye Tube definitely is quite active. This one, this Magic Eye Tube, like you said, you're looking at it sideways. Every time you scream into it, there's a bar that kind of illuminates from the top going down towards the center, and then from the bottom going up towards the center. So the more you talk, the more it almost looks like a mouth closing, and it's kind of cool because if you go take it outside and use this radio in the dark, it looks just like a mouth talk. It's almost like these, if you go to the tiki room in Disneyland, watching those tikis on the sides of the interior there. It looks like those mouths going up and down. But anyways, this one hopefully still is working correctly with its particular power cord. I found out the hard way last week that sometimes the power cords don't have really efficient soldering jobs done. And that was the issue with the other radio. But this one seems to be working okay, hopefully.
Working great, not a drop in audio or drop in signal. Put up a 6RE13 tube, but it's a super expanded picture, so anybody at oldtuberadio.net can see the giant 12-foot 6RE13 tube. But that's what it is. You look straight into the side of the tube, and then they mount that tube. I guess I could go back to the chassis of the radio, and then the little display window only shows that part of the tube with the lights on it, and you work your modulation from that. So a fun thing, obviously used for audio devices. I had a tape recorder that used that, and then some of them used it as tuning devices. When you were on the maximum or center frequency, getting the most input, voltage, receive, the dBm, whatever, it would push those little two segments together, and you knew you were tuned to the center right on frequency. So a lot of ways to use that tube, and one of them is for audio. Robin T123, it's sounding good. Glad you were able to make it into the radio cabana tonight.
Oh, yeah, Radio Lounge. I got a question. So I remember a long time ago, this, of course, is a 23-channel radio, and it's got one little part on that channel selector dial it's white. I don't know, on this, what is this? Is it green? I think all the numerals on the channel selector, I think they're kind of on a green dial, and maybe someone else can help me out on that one. But between 23 and 1, there's a channel that's kind of white, and I remember calling it the ghost channel because it just looked like it was glowing every time I used it on the patio. Does anyone know what frequency that transmits on? Because I think at one point in time we did figure that out. I could be wrong though. Can you comment on that?
All right. Well, typically I would guess that it is, and that may be a synthesized radio where it's 13 or 14 crystals with some multipliers in there, and you have 22A. Typically that would be a spot between channel 22 and 23. There would be a blank spot. But I think you said it was between 23 and 1. I guess they could put it anywhere they wanted. But that would have been the RC channel, of which there were two, between channel 22, which is 27225, and then there was a space at 27235 for an RC channel, and 27245 for an RC channel, and then 27255, which was channel 23. So it was 22A and B. Typically, you only had 22A. So that's what I'm thinking it is. Then when they went to 40 channels, you look at a channel chart where it gets messed up. 22 is at 27225. Channel 24 is at 27235, which was the 22A. And channel 25, which is 27245, which was 22B. And, of course, 23 was where it was. So I'm thinking that's what it is. And if it's working, because typically when they sold the radios, they would ground that out so it wouldn't transmit or receive. So if someone's modified it to do that, you could go to channel 24. Yeah, you go to channel 24 and you might be heard.
Okay. Well, as always, and I mean always, you're correct. When you just keyed up, I kind of flipped over there. Yeah, I was wrong. It's not in between channel 1 and 23. It's between 22 and 23, just like you said. So that's curious. It makes me kind of want to go grab a frequency counter and kind of nosy around back there and see what's going on. But anyways, thanks for letting me use it. This is definitely a fun radio. I kind of was under the assumption, I think last time I took this thing on the road, something was just really not working correctly with it. And now that this one seems to be kind of working okay, I'm wondering if indeed my mobile problems were just due to possibly that amplified mic I was using on it. I don't know. Now that it's summertime, I think that's one of the projects I'm going to have to try to figure out. I definitely want to take this thing on the road, but for now it's stationary, and it sounds great, and it's winking and blinking at me, and I just kind of got up close to it to look at some other things. Maybe I'll talk about some other time. But my nose got close to the radio, and man, I love the smell of glowing tubes, which of course that's what it's doing right now. So thanks for letting me check it in, and have a great evening to you and all. 20.
And 20 acknowledged. Yeah, the fun of being a tube radio operator, not only being in the driver's seat with a cool-looking radio, and the other aspects of, even if you're not talking on the thing, of just sitting there on, glowing, emanating light waves through the convection cooling vents and off the front panel and dancing around the room, and as Mike mentions, the capacity to have that old tube radio smell, like the new car smell or the Christmas tree smell. This is the aroma of the tube radio. And those of us who have some older broadcast style radios and tabletop radios with the tubes, turn them on. It's like, oh yeah, it's working. All right, thanks for that. The radio sounding good, and you reminded me of my first 22A rig, which was my first radio, the Navajo 23 channel TRC 23. Anyway, it was their first one without the Delta tune, and they had that space in between 22 and 23, and it just drove me nuts until somebody says you have to cut, there was the infamous cut the green wire, so I had to undo the case, and one of the screws was stripped, so I couldn't get the case all the way up, so I had to kind of pry the top of the case up just to barely get in. There's the green wire, and of course I didn't know anything. I was thinking, this is my only one radio. I paid a lot of money for this, and I didn't want to ruin it. But I cut that green wire, and lo and behold, I got the secret channel, 22A. So you can always say, let's go to the other one. Of course, there was a lot of people on the other one. But back in the day, 22A. So that was kind of fun. All right. It is past time, and we have a radio to check in. Thanks, Mike. We have Radio 9, Counting and Amounting, the Old Tube Radio Network. Still a lot of you out there listening at oldtuberadio.net, hanging in with us, even though a little light on the radios tonight. But as long as we get one, as long as I get one, I have done my duty, I suppose. Who's next? Oh, Harvey. You're saying, come on, just unkey the mic and he'll talk. Here we go.
40.
Okay, this one should be a little bit better, easier to copy. The Browning Golden Beagle R68T68 by Browning Laboratories, custom D104 with the medallion on the back. And let me insert some more audio into the radio there. Okay, I turn down the audio there. How's that, Dennis?
Sure.
It's good. You do not need to as you know, you do not need to overdrive or insert too much audio with that radio, and the Browning does it quite nicely, probably with any microphone you have, and seems to know how to not flat top and how to dissipate the audio properly into the AM carrier. Radio number 9 at 10:08. We have another breaker acknowledged. I think we'll go with, we've got 40 who are standing by, and we'll pick up the other station as well. So the R68, T68, what is that? The true base station over there. If there's one that's always going to key down or key up, it's going to be that one. Back to you. All right, thanks, Harvey. And let's go over to SWL 40.
Yes, 40. I have a radio to check in.
Good. You will be Radio 10, getting us into double digits.
Great. Well, this is a Gemtronics. Hang on, I gotta not listen to myself while I'm transmitting. Okay, this is a Gemtronics GTX 5000 40 channel CB transceiver.
That's what happens when you get those high-speed internet connections where you don't have much of a delay. It becomes a lot harder to figure out how to talk. That's, if you ever see in television broadcasting, they wear these little earpieces called an IFB. I think it's called an interruptible feedback. But so the director can say, look left, straighten your tie, go to the next story. And occasionally, if they send the program audio down, and you'll see this on reporters a lot, they send the program audio down that IFB. You're not supposed to be hearing yourself. It's called a mix minus. You can hear everything mixed in minus you. And if the audio person does something wrong, they will end up not mix minusing you into the headphones. So whenever you see the reporter saying, I'm standing here on a dark, empty road where nothing is happening, and all of a sudden they're kind of stuttering, and they reach up to their head and their ear, and they pull something out of their ear, that's the IFB. They are getting their program audio on a delay, like Larry was doing. But he's fixed that, so go ahead.
Yes, and I think I hear your producer calling you on your phone, telling you to get back to the station. You're rehired. I tried to do some streaming, and it seemed to work. And I've had to disassemble my camera to adjust the focus. I think that's the main issue. But looks like I might actually be able to do it. And I did it for a little bit there, and all I need to do is fix the focus, and then we can do some live. Do some live streaming on YouTube. Live streaming of the radio spectrum.
All right, so that'd be in addition. You'd click on the link, and you'd be able to physically see your signal, your bandwidth, what's happening with that. So that'll be kind of cool. And I take it that is that still up? You recorded that, so if we go to the link and kick onto that, we'll be able to see something?
Yes, you'll be able to see me in my full ugliness, which I advise. I want to warn people. If you want to see someone ugly, click on the video. And yeah, it has ended. It's just a test video, and more. I think I'll do some more tonight, and fine tune the experience.
All right, good thing. Fine tuning, tweaking and peaking, as we call it, is a good thing. You are Radio 10 with the Gemtronics GTX 5000, which is similar to the Robin T240D, the T-Berry T, the Shakespeare Colt. It's that chassis, that Panasonic chassis, the Panasonic chassis that was the 40-channel tube radio that probably wasn't, what was the other one? It wasn't a Browning, but it was just about everything else. Sounding good. 20 acknowledged. Don't go away. Thank you, Larry. We'll keep it moving here. The old tube radio network. We do have a check-in, I think, on the SWL side. Mark, are you still there?
Roger. 70 request a late check-in, please, Dennis.
All right, thanks for standing by. I don't know if you are doing any contest. I guess I could have asked Larry that, too. What's happening with the VHF contest here locally? I have not heard K6 TV? I have not heard the guys from up there at Bear Mountain. So not sure what's happening with that. But in the meantime, I'm putting the X in the square for you and getting you checked in.
Thank you, sir. No, I have not. This one's just too much stuff going on and some work stuff through this weekend, unfortunately. But yeah, that's always kind of fun to play around with. Anyhow, thank you very much, Dennis. Have a great evening.
All right, thank you, Mark. And I'm just looking if the wind is still going here. Ray's still reporting that it is just wild and scary even out there in Utah. And he's saying he's glad he doesn't have any big aluminum stuff in the air, because it might not be in the air after what's going on now. Radio 11 is standing by. Hello, Harvey.
This isn't a different radio. I just changed microphones. Any different?
Oh, just doing the test. I like the sound a little bit mellower. I think for the AM you have to go with mellower so you have peaks. Or whatever you're doing. Maybe it isn't. It's still not perfect. Take another transmission. Let's listen again. But I'm hearing you. I'm understanding you on the AM, but it's still not where it needs to be. Go ahead.
Okay. It's unamplified. So there you go. The cartridge in it is not the one but it's plugged in, and it was unamplified. It's a banana mic.
All right, I was just tuning you in on sideband to hear how that sounds. Not as mellow. Okay, I'll believe it's a banana mic because it has a lot more high frequency in it, which I can detect on the sideband. Sideband's usually pretty mellow and low frequency with that. So what's happening is, because it has a little bit more mid-range, high-end punch, it's getting a little bit more of the sideband coming in on the AM that the other one wasn't. But it's clearer, but still, you know, the uninitiated would give you audio reports that you sound fuzzy, and you know the drill.
Oh, the drill's a little high here. Okay, I lowered the drive a little bit. How's that?
Go some more.
Okay. Lowered the drive a little bit. Got some decent swing, which would make me happy, but not if I sound like such.
Yeah, that's the problem. The swing, the forward movement you see is your sideband's overpowering the AM. Now it's still pretty rough.
Okay. Well, once I get some of the other tubes in, and I check all the electrolytic caps, and totally replace them all, because they all look original. Then we'll see what we got.
All right, but it's working. Like I said, it's staying relatively on frequency. The sideband sounds fine. And there was a point where you had the AM sounding more like AM, but of course it wasn't close to the 100% modulation, which I don't know if those can do that or not. But you're getting it dialed in. It's a very, as you know, a fine process, like being a surgeon out there. The Old Tube Radio Network counting and amounting, and of course the jingle singers doing what they do best after the 10 o'clock hour.
You're tuned to
OTR. Channel 11.
right here in.
Fresno, California.
Stay with us
Old Tube Radio.
and be modern.
And I forgot to tell you, Harvey, good luck in the contest. I said I forgot to tell you good luck in the contest.
Good luck on what contest?
The VHF contest going on. That's what you say at the end of every contact. You say, you know, DM06 and good luck in the contest. All right. You know, I noticed when you back off the audio a little bit, it gets a little cleaner. So that's right now. You've got too much audio drive for what you've got set up with that particular microphone. So if you go down a little bit, it will help. Boy, it's a noisy room tonight. I can hear all the noise in the background. My headphones are, and what's going on here, are choking me. I'm gonna have a big accident if I don't fix this cord up. Sorry if that's annoying with the noisy room here and the wind and all that. Counting and mounting will be back in just a second for the totals here on the Old Tube Radio Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, time now for the current OTR totals.
Current and final totals. As we managed to just kind of sneak into double-digit radios tonight, And hello, who's that? Ray. Rayovac is asking, what is that in the background? That is, you are correct. You have a good eye, sir. That is the tram D201A directly behind me, mainly for show purposes. That's a set, what do we call a set decoration? Because I have in the past used that as the net control radio, but I'm not using that tonight as the net control radio. Be a great receiver. Since I do the audio streaming and some other things, that radio needs some modifications to work properly to stream audio and for me to hear what's going on and to not create some AC buzzing. I need to do some decoupling on the speaker output and headphone jack and things like that. So it's a little bit difficult to do all the things I'm doing, but it's a great radio, and it is the set dressing for the Old Tube Radio Network, right? If you're in the Old Tube Radio Network, you've got to have an Old Tube radio somewhere in the picture, along with all the other flashing lights. Where are we at? Counting and amounting. The SW Olsen Night 51 check-ins. We had 10 on page 1, 15 on page 2, 13 on page 3, and 13 on page 4. Still some wind in the background. I changed the outdoor lighting, so you can't really see too much going on out there tonight, but it is wild and woolly. Not quite as exciting as what's happening up with 44. Where the wind is nuts there. What causes that? High and low pressure coming together? Who's some of our meteorologists out there? Is that what's happening? We've got some pressure changes between a high pressure and a low pressure. Doing some interesting stuff. Radios, we had 10 tonight. The most heard manufacturer was a tie between the Brownings. No, I think the Brownings. No, the Brownings with that last check-in were the most heard manufacturers. I'm going to say a general radio telephone. Let's go over the list. Sonar Model E is the first way we started off with Mr. Green Arrow on the classic good-looking Model E, which with some audio issues, I think he's found it. He's got to put some deoxide in the channel selector. It will be back in future episodes, I'm sure. Radio number 2, Jerry on his general radio telephone MC5 from 1962. Also for Radio 3, his Browning Golden Eagle Mark III SSB. Just a loud radio that never misses a beat. Chris on the general radio, speaking of loud, Chris on the general radio telephone Super MC11A with the stock microphonium. The Siltronics 1011C, which we just heard on a replay there from Harvey, trying to figure out the audio. Those of you who've run those on AM before know there is a fine little dance between carrier insertion and drive and microphone audio on the AM side. On the sideband side, they speak for themselves. You put that sure 444 on there and you will have a talker for sure, as long as you can keep it on long enough to stay on frequency. Not a problem on AM, though. The SSB Browning Mark III from Monkey's Uncle for Radio 6, Radio 7, the Pierce Simpson Companion. Cool-looking radio. Thanks, Paul, for that. Radio number 8, the Robin T123, our only Magic Eye radio of the evening from Mike. Radio number 9, Harvey on the Browning Golden Eagle R68 T68, the Mark Nunn, I suppose, and Larry, CB Kid, on the Gemtronics GTX 5000. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. The Old Tube Radio Network, we do this every Saturday starting at 8 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. 33, 34 years. I've lost count. All I know is we have a great time chatting with our friends, talking about the tube radios, reliving, some of us, the good old days or just the days of the tube radio, kind of keeping it simple and encouraging others to do the same. Just have an old radio night or a get on the air night or whatever. Take some time out and do it in your area. Thanks for those who are still hanging out with us at oldtuberadio.net. We do archive the SWL and the Tube Radio check-ins. You can go to the archive button at oldtuberadio.net and listen to that, and the video will be up for a while. Thanks to searchlawrence.com and Frodex for keeping the Nixie tubes running, and thanks to all of you for your input, comments, and great suggestions on the Old Tube Radio Network. We'll see you again next time, next week. Stay safe, everybody. Stay out of the wind. And we'll have some more radio fun in 7 days. 27085. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Thank you, Dennis. right, Dennis.
Gotta go out and see if we have any wind damage here. Catch you later on the video side, 73.